In the late 1930s, as the United States was just beginning to emerge from the Great Depression, the University of Iowa's football team was, well, it was bad. In 1938, the Hawkeyes were 1-7, hadn't won a Big Ten game since 1933. But new head coach Eddie Anderson was about to unleash a secret weapon. Nile Kinnick and the Ironmen gave Iowa and ultimately the nation a reason for hope.
Nile Kinnick was just one of those players that just gave it all. Here is a man that was just a little guy, you know, compared to today's standards. He was around 175 pounds, 5'8". To do the things that he did were just remarkable.
Physique-wise, he wasn't all that outstanding, but everything he did well.
There were several players that were probably faster than Nile, but Nile was shifty and quick and very knowledgeable of what he was doing.
He could do everything: pass, run, punt, and drop kick.
They played both offensively and defensively. That's why they were called the Ironmen. He participated in 107 out of the 130 points that were scored in that season.
Eddie Anderson gave the leadership role of 39 to Nile Kinnick, and he became Mr. Everything on the football team.
Despite some early victories, Iowans remained unconvinced until Kinnick led the Hawkeyes to a stunning win over Notre Dame. Iowa finished the 39 season 7-1-1, and Kinnick was named AP Athlete of the Year, ahead of people like Joe DiMaggio and Joe Louis.
This team had rather captured the imagination of the football press across the country. So consequently, Nile was voted the winner of the Heisman Trophy.
His speech when he won the Heisman was just amazing.
A finer man and a better coach never hit these United States. And a finer bunch of boys and a more courageous bunch of boys never graced the gridirons of the Midwest than that Iowa team in 1939.
The most gracious, most incisive speech that has ever been given, in my view, by an athlete at any award at any time.
In my mind, is indicative perhaps of the greater significance of football and sports emphasis in general in this country, and that is, I thank God I was warring on the gridirons of the Midwest and not on the battlefields of Europe.
It was short, it was to the point, and it hit America right in the heart.
Nile Kinnick had a perspective well beyond football. His maternal grandfather, George W. Clark, was a former governor of Iowa. So Nile and his two brothers were raised to be achievers.
He had everything. He was an honor student, a Phi Beta Kappa, president of his class. He just represents what many Iowans want their young children to grow up to be.
Nile was not an outspoken person. He was a doer, and he was working for perfection.
He was never satisfied with his achievements. For example, he'd write, "Oh, gee, I wish I was a good ballroom dancer," or "I wish I knew how to play the piano." When he was this great football player of 39, all kinds of offers for Hollywood, acting, for pro football, and he said, in effect, "No, I'm interested in politics."
After college, Nile passed on a $10,000 offer from the NFL, a lot of money in those days, and enrolled in law school at Iowa. Soon after, he enlisted in the Naval Reserves, becoming a pilot.
The war clouds were gathering for World War II. Nile, I am sure, knew that he was going to be called into service very shortly.
Several other football, we were in the dormitory at the field house. We were listening to a professional football game, and the football game was, and we were told that we'd been attacked at Pearl Harbor. And of course, we couldn't hardly believe that, and we said, wow, you know, we're going to have to get into this.
Just 3 days later, Nile Kinnick was called to active duty.
There was a spirit then for the young people to do your part. I'm sure that was his feeling. I got it.
He was on a carrier, the Lexington. He was flying an F-4F fighter plane. He left the carrier and was on a training mission down around the Caribbean. And he had oil pressure trouble.
He decided not to land. There was too much of a danger of injuring or killing some of the soldiers on that flight deck. so he ended up ditching his plane.
The engine failed, he went in, and the guy that went in with him saw the plane go down, and he saw the oil slick, but he didn't see any sign of Nile Kinnick, and apparently he went down with the plane.
That was a terrific shock to America. Here was a man who was the brightest and best, and all of a sudden he had been taken away.
In his honor, Kinnick Stadium was named Kinnick in 1972.
I think that the people in this state looked up to him as the consummate student athlete. He was excellent in the playing field and excellent in everything that he did.
Prior to every football game, a coin is flipped to determine who receives the opening kick. Today in the Big Ten, that coin bears the likeness of Nile Kinnick.
Was ultimate Hawkeye. Here's a man that could have been a governor, a senator, a president. Who knows exactly where he could have gone if he hadn't been killed on that June day in 1943.
Everything he did was authentic and official and very positive. I don't think he ever had a bad thought in his mind.
A scholar, an athlete, and a soldier. Nile Kinnick, a true All-American.